being consistently injured.
And Embiid is down. Joel Embiid is down on the ground.
Disappointing late game playoff performances and consistently getting eliminated before the Eastern Conference Finals. In my opinion, there isn't an NBA star with more pressure on them than Joel Embiid next season. For somebody that was the 2023 MVP winner, that wants to be looked at as one of the best players in the NBA, consistently underperforms when it matters the most, and I think this is a make or break year for Embiid to break the streak of getting eliminated early in the playoffs. We can all agree that Joel Embiid is a top 5 player in the NBA when he is healthy, or at least in the regular season he is. But come playoff time, it feels like every single year there's something different with Embiid and the 76ers that results them not living up to their fullest potential. So let's look back throughout Embiid's career and their disappointing playoff exits and what Philadelphia has done to try to build around Embiid and why they keep coming up short. And then talk about why 2025 may finally be different for Philadelphia. Embiid got drafted to the Philadelphia 76ers back in 2014 when it was a dark time in Philadelphia. They were in the middle of the trust the process era. They traded Drew Holiday in the 2013 draft to select Nerlens Noel in the top 10. They ended up drafting Dario Saric and Joel Embiid in 2014. 2015, they drafted another big in Jahlil Okafor with the 3rd overall pick. 2016 and 17, they had the number 1 picks in the NBA draft, getting Ben Simmons in 2016 and Markelle Fultz in 2017. And Embiid only played 31 games in his rookie season after missing the first 2 years of his career due to foot injuries. And he did appear in 31 games as a rookie and almost won Rookie of the Year, being how good he played in those 31 games, averaging 20 points and 8 rebounds as a 22-year-old. Now, in the 2017 offseason, it was the first offseason in a little bit that Philadelphia was trying to put out a competitive roster going forward. Like I mentioned before, they drafted Markelle Fultz number 1 overall, and they gave up a future first-round pick from the Sacramento Kings and pick 3 to move up to number 1 to take the star point guard out of Washington. They also signed one of the best 3-point shooters in the NBA that offseason as well in JJ Redick from the LA Clippers. And this team had so many young players on their roster, they had a lot of cap space, so they ended up giving JJ Redick $23 million a year for that 2018 season. The 2017 Philadelphia 76ers won 28 games. Now, the 2018 76ers won 24 more games, going 52-30, marking their first season above 500 since 2005. It looks like they had 2 rising stars in this league in Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. Embiid appeared in 63 games, averaging 23 points, 11 rebounds, and 3 assists a night. And having those foot injuries from 2014 to 2016, he tore his left meniscus in the 2017 season. He had unfortunately another injury in the 2018 season where he suffered an orbital fracture following a collision with Markelle Fultz. This resulted in a 10-game absence, which included missing the first 2 games of the Sixers' opening playoff series against the Miami Heat. And the 76ers beat the Miami Heat in round number 1 in 5 games. Now, this was definitely an inferior Miami Heat team, but they got the job done. Vibes were high in Philadelphia as they were going up against the Boston Celtics in round number 2, missing their top 2 players due to injury in Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward, a series a lot of people thought Philadelphia could win. And while it was a competitive series, including confetti dropping prematurely in game number 3 after Marco Bellinelli's 3 was actually ruled a 2, and they ended up losing that game by 3 points anyway, they ended up getting gentlemen swept by the Boston Celtics. Embiid would finish his first playoff campaign playing in 8 games in the first 2 series, averaging 21.5 points, 12.5 rebounds, and 3 assists a night. But this was the start of Embiid's efficiency struggles in the playoffs. Coming back from that orbital fracture, he shot 41% from the field in round number 1 against the Heat, and then in round 2 against the Boston Celtics, shot 44% from the field and 23% from 3. The 2018 offseason wasn't too crazy for Philadelphia, but they did make one draft night trade that did not age well whatsoever. They traded away the 10th overall pick in Mikal Bridges to get a future first-round pick from the Phoenix Suns in Zaire Smith, who would go on to appear in 13 games for the 76ers in his career. The 2019 season started off with a bang for the Philadelphia 76ers when they realized they could make a win-now move and acquire another star to pair up with their 2 rising stars in Simmons and Embiid and get Jimmy Butler for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Jimmy Butler publicly requested a trade and was in the last year of his contract, becoming a free agent in the summer of 2019, so the Minnesota Timberwolves had no leverage whatsoever. The 76ers were able to get this deal done without even including a future first-round pick. They did give up Jared Bayless, Robert Covington, Dario Saric, and a future second-round pick in exchange for Jimmy Butler and Justin Patton. The 2019 76ers weren't done making major moves, and at the 2019 trade deadline, Philadelphia acquired Tobias Harris from the LA Clippers along with Boban Marjanovic, Mike Scott, in exchange for Wilson Chandler, Mike Muscala, Kuzma, Landry Shamet, a 2020 first-round pick, and a 2021 first-round pick that they got from the Phoenix Suns the offseason prior in the Mikal Bridges-Zaire Smith trade. So this team was ready to go for the playoffs, having a starting five of Ben Simmons, JJ Redick, Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid, felt destined to make a run in the Eastern Conference, which was wide open in the post-LeBron era. But unfortunately, Joel Embiid had a sore left knee and missed the final 14 games of the 2019 regular season and was banged up once again going into the playoffs. The 2019 76ers ended up losing game 1 of round 1 against an inferior Brooklyn Nets team led by D'Angelo Russell and Karis LeVert, but they ended up winning 4 straight to advance to round number 2 once again. And this 7-game series against the Toronto Raptors definitely was Joel Embiid's worst playoff series of his career. Marc Gasol, Pascal Siakam, Kawhi Leonard all gave him nightmares defensively. Embiid across those 7 games averaged 17 points, 8.5 rebounds, and shot 37% from the field, including his performance in Game 7 where he shot 6 for 18 from the field, 1 for 6 from 3, and finished with 21 points and 4 turnovers. And one of the best rosters around Embiid in his career ended up losing 92-90 on one of the greatest shots in playoff history.
Defended by Simmons. Is this the dagger? Game! Series! Toronto is won!
The 2019 offseason was a complete 180 from their 2018 offseason. They ended up losing Jimmy Butler in free agency to the Miami Heat, but they were able to orchestrate a sign and trade, acquiring Josh Richardson from the Heat. They also drafted Matisse Thybulle in the first round. They extended Ben Simmons, giving him his rookie extension, as well as re-signing Tobias Harris and getting someone that was always known for being a good defender of Joel Embiid from their division rival, the Boston Celtics, in Al Horford, giving him a 4-year, $109 million contract. The 2020 season was definitely one to forget for the Philadelphia 76ers. This was the bubble playoffs. They ended up going 43-30, finishing 6th in the Eastern Conference. They would go up against the 3-seeded Boston Celtics and ended up getting swept against them, a series in which Ben Simmons was injured throughout. Embiid did all he could in this playoff series. In those 4 games, he did average 30 points and 12 rebounds for the 76ers in their sweep. And then they made some notable moves in the 2020 offseason, and they drafted Tyrese Maxey in the first round, with actually the first round pick that they got in the Markelle Fultz trade when they dealt him to Orlando back in 2019 at that trade deadline. They also traded Josh Richardson for Seth Curry, which was a great move at the time. And they also salary dumped Al Horford, moving him to OKC, having to attach a first-round pick to do so, but picking up a nice 3-point role player in Danny Green from the Thunder. The 2021 Sixers bounced back and finished 49-23 throughout the regular season in the 72-game shortened year, and were actually the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. They acquired George Hill back at the 2021 trade deadline, and they beat the Russell Westbrook-led Washington Wizards in round number 1 in 5 games. And in the 2021 season, Embiid had one of the more notable injuries in his career, where he missed 19 out of the 72 games due to a left knee bruise, and he got hurt when he was the leading MVP candidate as well.
Harris back to Embiid. Oh my gosh. And Embiid is down with his knee. That did not look good. Oh no. Oh no. The left knee.
And the Sixers had one of the biggest meltdowns in the 2021 playoffs that changed the course of this team for years to come. It was kind of shocking that this series was tied 2-2 against the Atlanta Hawks, led by up-and-coming point guard Trae Young. And the 76ers, the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, blew a 26-point lead in game number 5 to lose to the Atlanta Hawks 109-106. And this was a game where Joel Embiid put up 37 points, but went 1 for 5 in the fourth quarter, only scoring 6 points there. And role player Seth Curry had to keep this team even in it. They were able to bounce back and win game number 6, even with Joel Embiid scoring 22 points on 37% shooting. But in game 7, the Atlanta Hawks shocked everybody, beating the 76ers on the road 103-96, seeing one of the biggest meltdowns of a superstar as well, in which Ben Simmons averaged 10 points, 6 rebounds, and 8.5 assists in that series against the Hawks, was way too passive with the ball, and this was the final game that we got to see Embiid and Simmons play together before a big debacle happened in that 2021 offseason into the 2022 regular season. In the 2021 offseason, they really couldn't do too much. They had a lot of money tied up into their big 3 of Tobias Harris, Ben Simmons, and Joel Embiid. In the 2022 season, they ended up finishing 51-31, 4th in the Eastern Conference, obviously making a massive move at the trade deadline, in which Daryl Morey, the new executive of the Philadelphia 76ers, did not want to trade Ben Simmons for pennies on the dollar. In the 2021 offseason, he held this out until the deadline, and they acquired disgruntled Brooklyn Nets star James Harden. The 76ers beat the 5-seeded Toronto Raptors in round number 1 in in 6 games. They were up 3-0 in this series, and then they ended up dropping the next 2, but winning game 6. Embiid was banged up in this playoff series, but he did perform very well, averaging 26 points, 11 rebounds, and shot 52% from the field. And then the 76ers went up against the Miami Heat in round number 2, but they ended up losing this series in 6 games. They were just outmatched, out-hustled, out-physicaled in this series. The Heat were crashing the glass way better than Philadelphia was, and that ended up being a common theme in some of their playoff exits. Embiid was much worse against Bam Adebayo in the Miami Heat in round number 2, where he averaged under 20 points, under 10 rebounds a night, and shot 42% from the field and 25% from 3, in which marked another early playoff exit for Philadelphia, missing the Eastern Conference Finals once again. In the 2022 offseason, they traded their first-round pick to acquire DeAnthony Melton from the Memphis Grizzlies, and the 2023 season was the best of Embiid's career throughout the regular season. He ended up winning his first MVP award, averaging 33 points, 10 rebounds, and 4 assists, shooting 55% from the field, 33% from 3, and 86% from the line. And Embiid appeared in 66 out of 82 games that season. And in round number 1, they matched up with the Brooklyn Nets, who traded away Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving at the 2023 trade deadline, and they swept the team led by Mikal Bridges. Embiid was clearly playing injured in round number 1. He only appeared in 3 to the 4 games. He did average 20 points and 11 rebounds and shot 46% from the field and 12% from 3 against the Nets. He also had a really weird flagrant one in this series as well, kicking Brooklyn Nets center Nick Claxton in the groin.
Embiid, he took offense to this, the stepping over right there.
For the 3rd time in Embiid's career, he got to go up against the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference semifinals, having a chance to avenge the team in 2018 and the team in 2020. Embiid missed game 1 of this series, but James Harden dropped 43 points for the Philadelphia 76ers to beat the Boston Celtics 119-115 on the road in Boston.
Difference of 2 seconds, game clock and shot clock. Harden sizing up Horford. It's a 3. Good! Harden's got 45! Philadelphia has won! The Sixers have captured game 1 without Embiid.
Embiid would come back in game number 2, in which they ended up getting blown out by Boston. They also lost game 3, but ended up winning game 4 and game 5 to head back to Philadelphia, having a chance to beat the Celtics in game 6. And in a series where Jason Tatum shot 5 for 21, 23% from the field, the Boston Celtics were still able to beat Philadelphia 95-86. Embiid took just 6 shots in the 4th quarter, but just did not demand the ball whatsoever in the final 2 minutes, and the 76ers just looked chaotic as a team offensively. They would go on to get blown out in game 7, 112-88.
3-10.
Tatum fires away, puts it in! 51 for Jason Tatum.
In a game which Embiid had 15 points and shot 27% from the field. At the start of the 2024 season, James Harden requested a trade. He ended up getting traded to the LA Clippers, and Tyrese Maxey emerged as the number 2 next to Joel Embiid. And Embiid looked like the MVP once again at the start of the 2024 regular season, but unfortunately, he had major knee surgery though when Jonathan Kuminga fell on him, where he only appeared in 39 out of the 82 games last year. And Embiid was clearly playing injured against the Knicks in round number 1. It also came out that he had Bell's palsy as well, so he could barely see out of one eye. Embiid had one of the craziest self-alley-oops, getting it over OG Anunoby, and immediately went down, and you could just tell that he was consistently playing injured on this knee that he has been dealing with throughout his whole career. Embiid did all he could against the Knicks though when he played healthy. He averaged 33 points and 11 rebounds in those 6 games, but they did lose to the Knicks in game number 6 in Philadelphia. Once again, not making it to the Eastern Conference Finals. So will 2025 be any different? The Philadelphia 76ers signed the biggest free agent this summer in Paul George, who was on an All-NBA team last year from the LA Clippers. Tyrese Maxey just got his rookie max extension and broke out last year as an all-star, being a great number 2 to Embiid. They added Andre Drummond in free agency to be a good solid backup center, and brought back some of the core from last year like Kelly Oubre, Kyle Lowry, and even signed Caleb Martin from the Miami Heat as well. This is arguably the best 76ers roster we have seen since the 2019 season, and if Joel Embiid and the 76ers do not make it out of round 2 in the East, it is going to be the same old story with Embiid in Philadelphia. So if you guys did enjoy this video, let me know if you think there's any player in the NBA that has more pressure on them next year than Joel Embiid, but in my opinion, it is Embiid now playing with Paul George in Philadelphia. Thank you all for watching. Love you guys, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.